Welcome to Longevity Masters. I'm your host, Grant Hutchby, and this show exists for one reason and one reason only: to reclaim as many optimal years of life in as many people as possible. Our goal over the next 5 years is to reclaim 10,000 years of life. As a business owner and former executive, I came to realize that I had been treating my business much better than I'd been treating my body. Your body is a business, and like any business, it runs on structure, timing, systems, and ultimately KPIs. The businesses that fail aren't the ones with bad people, they're the ones with broken systems, poor timing, and no data to tell them what's actually happening. Your biology works exactly the same way. Most high performers have built exceptional businesses, but they're running their biology on guesswork. No structure, no timing, no KPIs. And the cost of that compounds quietly until it becomes impossible to ignore. And our belief is simple. If you change your behaviors, you can change how you age. You can easily place yourself on a trajectory to become 10 years biologically younger than your chronological age, measurably within 12 weeks, just like myself and many others have done as well. Longevity is not a healthy hobby or a health hobby. It's a strategic advantage. What you do matters, but when you do it matters more. Let's dive into our next session, matured longevity, and how we impact our age over the long term. This is the final session of the build cycle, the sales department. Everything before this was about the foundations of sleep, energy, recovery, stress, regulation, training, and daily environment. What you have done in the past, in the last few sessions, is set the foundation for the infrastructure the future then eventually builds on. This session is about what happens when all of this stuff is stable. Most high performers focus on the day. They win the morning, they structure their work blocks, they protect the evening, but they never zoom out. They never ask, what do these systems look like next month, next quarter, next year, 2 decades from now? The truth is that the body you have in 20 years is built by the systems that you run now. Long-term capacity, repair and recovery, and ultimately reversing your biological age. This is where systems begin compounding and giving you the return on investment that you actually want. 3 things that you leave with today: why long-term recovery determines your biological age, which systems protect long-term performance, and how to use supplements and recovery protocols correctly. Not which ones to buy, but how to deploy them intelligently based on your data. Here's the context before we go in. This layer compounds because the foundational systems are now stable. Basically everything that we've done before this in the pyramid. The previous sessions built the infrastructure. This session is where that infrastructure starts generating long-term biological returns. That's the problem, the mechanism, and the compounding effect that we're looking for. And that's what you want from any investment. So you've heard of the circadian rhythm if you've been listening along or watching previously. That's the 24-hour cycle and your daily structure. The infradian rhythm is different, and that's what we're talking about today. Operates over weeks, months, and even years and decades. It governs something the circadian rhythm can't: long-term biological adaptation. Think of it like a business. The circadian rhythm is like your daily operations. The infradian rhythm is the strategic cycle, the quarterly compounding of every daily decision over time. You can run excellent daily operations and still have a declining business if the longer term cycle is broken. That's the same with your body. Everything in this program has been building one of these 5 systems. The infradian rhythm is what happens when all 5 are running in sequence over time, bringing everything we've done before this together so that chronic stress doesn't compound decline. That means that inflammation could build quietly if your stress is compounding. That means biological age could move in the wrong direction, and your biological age index trends upwards. If you have consistent recovery, that compounds adaptation. Capacity is preserved, biological age slows, meaning that your bio-age index, which is our unified biological age score, trends downwards. The body is always compounding, always moving in one direction. You are either compounding repair or you are compounding decline. And that's why the body you have in 20 years is built by the systems that you run now. Supplements amplify healthy systems. They do not repair broken ones. If you stack supplements on top of dysfunction, you get expensive dysfunction. At the base, we have omega-3, D3 with K2, magnesium, electrolytes, fiber. These supplements have the broadest evidence around and should be the foundation that most people should be running regardless of their goals. One call out is creatine. I haven't put this in foundation because not everyone tolerates it really well. And actually, if you don't tolerate it well, you could try splitting up the dose. But the evidence is so exceptional. You've got brain function, cellular energy, multiple systems that it helps beyond muscle stimulation, muscle activation. Because if you can tolerate it well, it definitely belongs in your stack because it's very, very safe and it gives you so many benefits. And obviously with that in mind, it has a very high asymmetric risk versus reward ratio. During the day, we focus on supplements that impact performance and stability, longevity, hormones. And in the evening, we focus on things like sleep onset, repair, recovery, and deep sleep and restoration. That's why we split the different things. And in different times of the day, this is why timing is everything. Different times of the day, we focus on different supplements for different things. This is where the timing changes its effect, which is why, again, timing is everything. And as we know, the timing and when you do stuff means everything, much more than exactly what you do. The same supplement taken at the wrong time delivers a fraction of the result. What you take matters, but remember, when you take it matters more. Here's a pattern I see consistently in high performers. They schedule their stress and they never schedule recovery. They plan their work blocks, their training sessions, their travel, and they leave recovery to whatever is left over. Recovery is not what happens when you stop working. Recovery is regulation, timed, intelligent. There are three categories. We have a range of tools. What matters is understanding what each category does. First, we have the regulation category. This is where we lower the chronic stress load and deliberately activate the recovery state. The nervous system has two modes. Most high performers are exceptional at activation, but very few are exceptional at regulation. Next, we have oxygen delivery, which is where we improve circulation and how efficiently the body delivers recovery to the tissues that need it. And last but not least, we have inflammation reduction, where we manage the inflammation load that accumulates from training, life stress, and workload. What you need to do here is schedule the recovery like you schedule performance every week and every month. You need to get intentional. And again, time is a massive part of what you're doing here when you do these recovery protocols. Our first hormone is estrogen within the infradian rhythm. Let's start with a myth. Estrogen is not a female hormone. It is active in both male and female bodies. It governs recovery capacity, metabolic regulation, inflammation control, and body composition in both sexes. When it's functioning correctly, the body recovers well, stays metabolically stable, and keeps inflammation load low. When it's under stress, the first visible change is body composition, specifically visceral fat. If you remember from one of our earlier sessions, visceral fat is the body fat around our organs, around the midsection. Most people assume rising visceral fat is a discipline problem. Eat less, train more. Often it's a recovery regulation signal. The body is accumulating visceral fat because the recovery system is declining. not because of willpower or discipline. This shows directly in your bio-age index, our unified biological age score. Visceral fat is one of the measurable signals that recovery regulation is breaking down or getting better. Your biology compounds what your systems regulate. Estrogen is one of the hormones that determines which direction you compound. Now, let's look at the 3 rules with estrogen. Estrogen rule number 1, strategic supplementation. This rule is about precision, not volume. Build your stack around your blood work, your bio-age data, and your recovery trends. Review it every quarter and adjust accordingly. Here's where you are right now. You're almost at the 12 weeks. You have the foundation of a longevity system. What comes next is where the compounding gets serious. Every quarter, you need bloods, epigenetic markers, a full bio-age review. You look at what the data shows you and then you refine it. What improved, what didn't, how has all of your data changed? What does this mean? The answers tell you what the stack needs to do next. Review, refine, adjust, repeat. It's that simple. Most people just chuck a load of supplements in because they've been told it does X, Y, and Z to their body, not because they've actually analyzed their data. This is not guesswork. This is strategic biological management, just like you would do in your business. Rule number 2, regulate recovery. This rule evolves with you. Schedule a recovery tool around every training block and every high stress event every week. But the key principle here is this: what you do matters, but again, when you do it matters more. It's not a fixed list of things that you do every single week, regardless of what's happening. It's a plan that adjusts based on your training load, your workload, your travel, and guess what? Your data. For example, around training, you could use things like cold exposure, electrolytes, and sauna. With other high stress events, how do you recover between them so that you enter the next one at full capacity? Which is the best tool for you to use in the moment? You usually make a good plan for the stress. You plan these things all in. Now you need to plan the recovery with the same discipline. One key thing to remember here is that recovery is regulation, timed intelligently. The last estrogen rule is macro timing. The previous session built 3 nutritional foundations: consistent eating window, real food, protein targets based on your ideal body weight. This rule adds the next layer, and it's where nutrition becomes a precision tool. Protein always remains constant. You always keep protein the same. You adjust carbohydrates and fats based on your training load, recovery demand, and body composition data. There are a couple things to remember. Fiber first. Before the first meal, it lines the stomach, stabilizes digestion, and balances the metabolic response to everything that follows. Especially important if you're fasting or not eating for extended periods of time. Your protein eating first. So what that means is you get your protein into your belly first. It changes the metabolic response to everything that you put in your stomach that follows. So the order matters. Remember, order, sequence, timing. You must refine this balance with your data. The carb and fat ratio is personal based on you and your goals. It depends on your training intensity, the timing, and your recovery demands in your general day-to-day life. The principle are universal. So the principles here are universal. The numbers are yours to adjust to what you need. It's not just what you eat, it's when and how you eat it. So next we have nitric oxide. Gary Brecker said it simply: in the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. That's the operating principle behind this slide. Circulation determines what your body can repair and how quick. Nitric oxide governs vascular flexibility, oxygen delivery, and blood pressure regulation. When it's working, you have efficient circulation, strong recovery delivery, and healthy blood pressure. When it's declining, circulation degrades, recovery drops, and blood pressure trends upwards. Here's what most people miss. Blood pressure doesn't spike suddenly. It trends upward slowly over months, years, before any symptoms appear. unless you measure it. It's the earliest measurable signal of vascular stress. That's why we measure blood pressure with regards to nitric oxide, and it compounds silently unless you measure it regularly. This shows directly and contributes to your overall bioage index, which again is our unified biological age score. So nitric oxide rule number 1, vascular regulation. This is all about nitrate-rich foods, electrolyte balance, and targeted supplementation. Take note of some of the foods and supplements that support nitric oxide production, vascular health, and blood pressure. We've got beetroot, rocket, spinach, pomegranate, dark berries, supplements like citrulline and CoQ10. That's just to name a few. There are others out there as well. Feel free to do the research. With electrolytes, this is where the ratio matters more than the product. 2 parts sodium to 1 part potassium. Most commercial electrolytes don't get this right, and check the ratios before you buy them. If you need to, you can add potassium or sodium to whatever it is you're taking. If your blood pressure isn't optimal, these inputs can begin immediately. We refine this with data, so it really does depend what your blood pressure is saying, what your data is saying. And remember, your blood pressure changes over time, and as the data changes, the inputs adjust with it, which is why we need to refine this with data. Rule number 2, sauna therapy. This one is simple, but very, very important. Dry sauna, 20 minutes, 80 degrees or above, 4 to 7 sessions per week. The KIHD study in Finland studied 2,315 people over 20 years of data. At least 4 sessions per week produce 40% lower all-cause mortality, 50% lower cardiovascular mortality, and 63% lower risk of sudden cardiac death. These are not marginal gains. This is one of the strongest longevity associations in published research. Dry sauna only. Build it up gradually. First build up the temperature, then build up the time. One note on timing. Sauna is a strategic stress. It drives vascular adaptation. Schedule it accordingly. You don't want to be doing this in between high cognitive work blocks or meetings, and not on days where the recovery load is already quite high. This is strategic stress timed correctly, which compounds adaptation. Rule number 3 is deep breathing. No equipment, no cost. You can do this tomorrow morning. It's a deep, full inhale and a fast exhale. 15 to 30 breaths. It looks like this. You can do it with your mouth. Then what you need to do is hold the last breath. So you pump it in, hold it 15 to 30 seconds, and then release thinly pursed lips until your lungs are empty. Repeat that for 3 rounds. Do it early on in the day. And here's why it works. Rapid exhales flush carbon dioxide. They get adrenaline and dopamine firing immediately. Your performance hormones, your motivation hormone and your performance hormone. Blood flow surges, inflammation drops. The Radboud University in 2014 found that pro-inflammatory markers went down by 50% doing this type of breathing, and anti-inflammatory markers went up by 200%. One thing I want you to understand about this protocol, most people reach for stimulants to get energy, coffee, energy drinks, whatever it is. Few people train it. Few people train your energy, and that's what this is. You are changing your biological state intentionally without a chemical dependency. This becomes your new stimulant. 3 rounds, early in the day, start now, and see how amazing it makes you feel. So let's lock the system. Active recall, bit of a pop quiz for you. If you're listening along, just think about the questions and the answers. If you want to write them down, feel free as well. We've got 5 questions. First question, what rhythm discussed in this session? So what was the rhythm discussed in this session? Next, what does this rhythm regulate? So the rhythm that we discussed in this session, what does it regulate? Number 3, what hormones and KPIs are linked to this session or linked to the rhythm that we're talking about? Number 4, why does timing matter? This isn't just for this session, but this is for the whole system and your biological aging. Why does timing matter for your biological age? Number 5, what do supplements and recovery protocols do? What do they do for you? So let's go back and do the answers. Question number 1, what was discussed in this session, or what rhythm was discussed in this session? The Infradian Rhythm, long-term adaptation. What does this rhythm regulate? Long-term adaptation and repair and recovery. It's the longer term stuff, not the short term stuff. What hormones and KPIs are linked to this session? Estrogen and visceral fat, nitric oxide and blood pressure. They're the hormones and they're the KPIs that we use to measure them. Why does timing matter? We run on sequence and rhythms, just like your business does. Get them right and you age in the right direction. It's not just about what you do, it's about when you do it that counts. What do supplements and recovery protocols do? They amplify healthy systems. They do not replace them. Just remember, if you've not got the foundations right, all these protocols and all these supplements are not going to do anything for you. Just remember, systems recalled equals systems remembered equals systems executed. That's why we test ourselves. So here's the framework. So that's matured longevity. Hopefully you stayed along, and the Infradian Rhythm. You've got 6 rules, 2 systems, 1 outcome. Long-term repair, recovery, and adaptation. Estrogen governs recovery regulation and body composition. The rules we have are strategic supplementation, regulate recovery, and macro timing. Your biology compounds what your systems regulate. Then we have nitric oxide that governs circulation and vascular health. And the rules here are vascular regulation, sauna therapy, and deep breathing. What the systems can deliver, the body can repair. And remember the whole point about the Infradian Rhythm and everything we do moving forward with regards to our longevity is that the body you have in 20 years is built by the systems that you run now. If you're watching along, feel free to take a screenshot of this, put it up. This will allow you to remember exactly what you need to do to drive your longer term recovery and adaptation. So all of the lessons of the 12-week turn back time system is complete. And this is where it gets serious, because everything you've built, the sleep structure, the nutritional foundations, the training, the hormone regulation, the recovery protocols, all of it now needs to be measured, reviewed, and refined. And now we move into the finance department of your biology: data, reflection, and strategy. Every quarter, you must update blood work, epigenetic testing, and have a bioage index review. Remember, bioage indexes are unified biological age score, taking into consideration all the platforms of aging. You look at what the data shows you, you refine the supplements, you adjust the recovery protocols, you update the training and nutrition plan, and you put together a strategy for the next 12 weeks. You should do this with your business every quarter without question, and your biology runs on the same cycle. The systems are now built. Now we measure what has changed. We are not at the end. This is the beginning of a long-term strategic biological management. What you measure, you can manage, and what you manage improves. Hopefully you all got a lot from this session, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Remember, be young, be happy, and be free, people. And just remember this last thing: timing is everything.